What's up, you guys? I'm Amber.
And I'm Patty.
And welcome back to our 5th episode of Chromosomes Chaos.
2 moms, 2 perspectives, 1 badass podcast.
And today we have a different episode lined up, just a different way we're going to do the episode, because October is not only Down Syndrome Awareness Month, but it's also Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And so co-host Patty has had the best of both, maybe, and she is willing to share her story full of emotion, realness, rawness with you guys, because this is one thing that I have never had to experience in my life, but I know a lot of people do have to navigate through this hardship. And so she has been willing to do an interview style. I'm going to ask her some questions and just share with you guys, because again, we know that when you can share your story that someone else is going through, it really does help. So thank you, Patty, for doing this today.
I'm an open book.
And I might have a lot of things to say, but I'm here to listen and take it all in and hear about, your experiences and things like that. I know on one episode we talked about how both of these line up on the same month.
Mm-hmm.
So Sweet Hudson, her son was Hudson, he's, so we'll talk about your journey to all that too. But let's first talk about just, the pregnancy with Hudson.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably a good place to start with. Obviously, he was born after Addi.
Mm-hmm.
And so filling us in on how the pregnancy and everything went, and then kind of his story.
Right. So if you've listened to our other episodes, Addi is our oldest, and our kind of family planning fertility journey just definitely didn't start off. I remember when we decided to start and we were so excited, and for us, we went onto a cryobank, picked our donor, bought the vials, went to Mid-Iowa Fertility, got pregnant on my first try, and I was like, cool, this is easy. Whew. But if I knew then what I knew now, it was the least easy. Mm-hmm. And so before Addi got pregnant, or before Lisa got pregnant with Addi, I had already experienced 3 miscarriages at the time. Mm-hmm. And the unique thing about going through the fertility process is the day of, right? For so many people and families that are starting their family planning, because I was told I had a missed miscarriage, right?
Okay.
And it's only because, we did the transfer and right? And so those first couple of weeks, so many individuals have a missed miscarriage. Mm-hmm. They just don't know because there was no signs, symptoms, or things like that. Right. And so had Addi, went back to the drawing board, went through a process called IUI injectables, which is kind of the in-between of IUI and IVF. Okay. Never wanted to do IVF. Long story short, the day before the trigger shot, I got a call that my estrogen level had skyrocketed and I was at risk of having quads or more.
Oh, jeez. Pump the brakes.
Just trying to have one. But I had to make a decision that night on if I wanted to just stop or switch over to IVF. So we did end up switching over to IVF, went through that process, had 9 eggs, 5 embryos, and then 4 matured. Okay. So we transferred 2 right away. Okay. And I was pregnant with twins. Mm-hmm. And then I want to say at our 6-week check, we had what was called a vanishing twin. So they're the baby B just had a heartbeat and then didn't. Mm-hmm. There's no kind of rhyme or reason for that, but we still had one. Yeah. And so went through the typical standard process, had a couple more ultrasounds, graduated from the fertility clinic, and had our first appointment with the OB. And again, if you listen to the last one of the other episodes when we talked about diagnosis, it was almost like deja vu, right? Right. There's some signs, some markers, and I look at Lisa and I was like, this is, and the doctor started talking. I'm like, you don't have to say anything. I know where you're going. I'll schedule an appointment with Dr. Drake at the perinatal specialist. We'll be okay. We've been down this road. It's fine. Right. And we're literally walking out to the parking lot. And I'm like, are we going to have another kiddo with Down syndrome? Cool. All right. We got one. What's another? And so went.
And sorry to interrupt you, but I think just from my experience with just another one, that's the best case scenario too sometimes, right? Because it's like, well, that's fine. But then you think of all these other things that could potentially be wrong too, not Down syndrome, because I think we go into that first pregnancy so naive about some things, right? And then the second one we think, well, what if it has Down syndrome, or what if it has X, Y, and Z? You know, that could be worse. And so I know just from a second pregnancy after Down syndrome, you always have that fear instilled in you, and it's very hard. It's very that part's hard.
Absolutely.
Too, so.
Well, and because we already had Addi, we were asked if we wanted to do genetic testing on the embryos, and I declined. One, because it's an extra fee. Two, we already had one for Down syndrome, so went to our first appointment, and it wasn't actually with the specialist that we had through the remainder of Addi's pregnancy that we absolutely loved. They scheduled us with somebody else, and they were like a rotating doctor that came in. And that is when so this is 12 weeks, right? We were given a not fit for life diagnosis, that the size of the hygroma that was growing, I was told I would have a miscarriage. I was told if we were able to go further that I would have a stillbirth, but that I would never make it to a live pregnancy. And so, I mean, looking back, being given a Down syndrome, that would have been great, right? But here we are with like so much worse than I thought it was going to be. And then we're in the hallway, and Dr. Drake comes out, and of course I'm sobbing, and she gives me a hug, and she's like, why, what is happening? Like, why are you not with me? Why did you? And so she like took my hand and walked me up to the appointment desk and was like, she is not allowed to see anybody else. We love her. So amazing.
Awesome. What a good doctor.
And so there was a lot of conversation, and I say this publicly in a very, way that Dr. Drake also know, like, termination for us was not an option, right? And I say all the time, I would never wish our journey on anybody else. However, I would never fault somebody else for making a different decision than we did. And I say that with all of my heart, because unless you have been put in a position where you have to make those decisions, I don't think you get to have an opinion
100%
on something that 100%. You have no idea. However, for me and Lisa and our family, that was not an option for us. And so we chose to continue moving forward with the pregnancy. And of course, there is a hope.
Absolutely. You have to. You have to have that hope. Because, and I think a lot of it is the input that we get when we have a child with Down syndrome, like your first, with Addi. They said you should terminate right now. So then naturally that word comes up, and we're like, but I have a daughter that has a really great life. So naturally our instinct is, no, because what if it's not as bad as you think it's going to be? And this child can live a great life, right?
I'm a hopeful person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we decided to move forward. We got a second opinion, went to University of Iowa, variety of places, just to kind of go through it. So Hudson had a diaphragmatic hernia that caused his bowels to move up into his chest cavity, so his lungs never developed. And then there was some other things going on. I had little to no amniotic fluid. So had it just been the one thing, they would have sent me somewhere to do an in utero surgery. But it wasn't an option for us. And so it was a challenging time, and we just decided that we were going to celebrate him as much as we could for as long as we could, right? And your hope kind of changes, and that would ebb and flow with every appointment, right? Because I was told I was going to have a miscarriage, but I didn't. I was told that I would never make it to a live birth, and I did. I was told that we were going to have a stillbirth, and I didn't. And he was growing. And I remember at one point in time, Lisa looked at me just like, am I actually going to have to get the nursery ready?
Right.
Because we had gotten so close.
Yes.
And my hope changed, right? My hope, because I was told by several doctors and several experts that this was the likely outcome of what we were doing.
Well, they were probably shocked that you made it. Like every day was a sense of hope, probably. Every time you woke up and every heartbeat you saw was a sense of hope. Just relive that, like just revive it. You know?
So we had like a 200-day birthday party when I had been pregnant for 200 days, and we did lots of walks, did lots of dancing, went to like a New Kids on the Block concert, went to a Cardi B concert, like,
that was that time.
Yes. And so, just did all of the things to kind of celebrate as much as we could for as long as we could. And the goal, outcome, the hope ebbed and flowed. And so it just changed to hoping to make it to a live birth so we could, see him, love him, and send him on his way.
Yes.
And so he was born on June 13th, 2019, and we got to spend about an hour with him before he passed away. Mm-hmm. And then he was with us for about, the 48 hours in the hospital room during that time. And Addi got to come in and see him, and family got to come in, and I had a friend who's a photographer come in, and those are some of my most cherished pictures of, our family with Hudson. And we had what I like to call the gift of time, right? Because I knew what the likely outcome was going to be. I had a list. I wanted to give him his bath. We had our pastor come in and give him a baptism and his last rites. I had a lock of his hair. I wanted handprints, footprints. I wanted to read him a book. I wanted to sing him a song. So it's like trying to do all of those things
in that
in
1 hour. But you got to do it, because had you not,
right,
you wouldn't.
When it is a stillbirth or it's a surprise. And so I have people who reach out to me that say, Patty, my coworker, my cousin, my friend just experienced this and I don't know what to do. And I usually respond with, if it's immediate, like, just try to do the things, because at some point in time you will regret not having the opportunity to do the things. I know there one couple, the husband wouldn't hold the baby, and at some point in time he's going to regret not taking that opportunity that he did have. Right. And so it's a uniquely imperfect journey, but if grief is the price and love is the proof, like I would walk that journey over and over and over again, right. And just to be able to have him and know him and love him.
Do such a good job at the walk. Yeah. That's always a great thing, and celebrating him all the time. So
pregnancy and infant loss is something that so many couples and families navigate, and it's such a taboo topic that is assumed you have to grieve in silence or privately. And I think it's okay to talk about it, because so many people navigate this impossible journey, and to shine a light on the number of people who have to navigate this. Because when hardships happen, like, life still goes on. You still gotta wake up the next day, and if you have kids in your home or a job, or life still happens. And I've said it a million times, and one hardship does not negate future hardship. Otherwise, there's people whose cups would be overflowing. And you have to try and balance all of that and give yourself time to heal and grieve and feel feelings and oof.
Right. And I was just talking to a friend about this, because she had a friend that had a miscarriage. And she's like, have you ever had one? And I'm like, I haven't. But we said how we love that more people are just talking about it, because I don't know if it's the same amount of people having miscarriages that they just never talked about it, or is it that they're just open about it now, but everyone needs that, because when you go to a party or a get together, the first thing you don't say is, hey, did you have a miscarriage? Right. But you want to know someone that has, so you can walk that path together.
Absolutely.
And it's so good that it's just more awareness around this topic, because people grieve differently with
that
this
experience shapes a part of who I am as a mother, as a wife, as a boss, as a friend, as in so many other aspects of my life. And there's a human component to it, right? I have the ability to connect with people in a different way because of the things that I have been through in my life. And I think that's a superpower to me.
Right, 100%. So I know in one of the other episodes you said something about when you got Addi's diagnosis, this lady said something to you that made it better as far as the grieving and stuff goes. So in this situation, were there things people did or said that helped you guys get through it? Like, were you able to connect with somebody?
There is actually, and I love this, I love being a conduit of connecting people and things. I think during that time, somebody had told me about an organization called No Foot Too Small.
Okay.
And No Foot Too Small is a nonprofit organization that unites families and celebrates angels and builds birthing and bereavement suites. And I think we were maybe 2 weeks post, his death. And I went to their first moms group, and just with very raw and very real emotions. They would have quarterly moms groups where you would just go, and it's just a safe space. And like, I didn't know a single person in that room, and I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, this just happened, and Lisa's with me, and we grieve very differently. And there's something about, going into that room and knowing that no matter what walk of life you have been on, every single person in that room has a shared experience of child loss, of a miscarriage. And it doesn't matter at what point in time a loss is a loss, right? So whether it's 6 weeks, whether it's 37, 38, 39, 41, 42 weeks, right? Like, there is a loss, and it just gives a safe space to tell your story and hear from others and just connect on that level. And so that was really important to me. And then a good friend of mine, the same photographer that came in and took all the pictures, she reminded me and said, Patty, you're not going to be able to Patty your way through this. What are you talking about?
Positive Patty? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Like, you're going to have to make room for grief and to feel your feelings. And so I was very intentional about taking that time. And I still took time off work. I think I used up all of my PTO and sick time to take a couple weeks off, and which is hard for me because I'm just a workhorse. And so, but there was that organization, and then just the support from family and friends. Some other friends had started a GoFundMe to kind of help with some of the expenses around it, and Hamilton's was fantastic, and community support. Your friends just rally for you.
So with October being Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, what do you wish more people understood about this kind of loss? And I think you kind of touched on it before, of how some people just grieve different, but I would love to hear what, your thoughts are on this.
I just think that, no matter how you choose what to tell, like, celebrate your angel, whether it's publicly, whether it's privately, to do those things, right? To make room for grief, to visit grief. I visit grief all the time, right? I don't unpack my shit and stay there, but I do visit, like, every year, when school starts. I remember the first time that would have been Hudson's first day at school, preschool. I dropped Addi off at her school, and then I just went and I sat in the parking lot and I watched the kids, because I knew grief has this funny way of, if you don't give grief attention or what it needs, it will manifest itself in other ways and, like, hit you upside the head like a ton of bricks, right? And so I'm very intentional about, I know
if it's there, kind of take it on in that moment.
And then I was able to cry and let it out and go about my day.
Because you probably envisioned he would have been walking in with those classmates. And I think I remember this post because, even though I've never been through this, still seeing your posts, it makes you, like, realize how hard that must be.
It's like,
in those moments,
not a single one of those kids understand that another kiddo should be here with them. Right? And that perspective resonates with people. And so, I just encourage those who've had to walk this unimaginable journey to make room for it, to feel it, that your feelings, kind of like when given a Down syndrome diagnosis, feel your feelings. I think for me, child loss is its own unique recipe. For some, it is acts of service and remembrance and advocacy. And for others, it is grief. It is crying. It is other facets, and both of those are okay.
Or it might be a mix of both.
Exactly. You can find and create your own recipe that suits you for figuring it out. Because I remember Louis Capaldi had like 3 songs that came out right at that time. Every time I would hear it, I would just bawl my eyes out, and I'd be in the car bawling. And I remember when, after Hudson died, I decided that I was going to pump. I exclusively pumped my breast milk for 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and donated it to a local milk bank.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I also started the new job where I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
and I stopped pumping on the Friday before I started my new job because I'm like, how awkward is this going to be that I'm going into a new job with a new position as the director? And it's like, just that awkward conversation that I wasn't ready to have yet.
Yes.
And somebody asked me, "Oh, how many kids do you have?"
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a
common question,
right?
Absolutely.
Oh, just trying to get to know
yes.
you, all of that
yes.
stuff.
Yes.
And I said, "I have a daughter, Addi." And then after that interaction and that ended, I went into my office and I started crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a decision that day and in that moment that I was never going to not have Hudson in
yes.
how that responds, right?
Yep.
So when people
Yep.
ask me, I always say I have 3 in my home and 1 in my heart,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just my way to always honor him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I do a lot of things, like I wear his necklace
Yep.
almost every single day, and we decorate his grave
Mm-hmm.
up at the cemetery, and we do a 5K every year and
Mm-hmm.
donate to organizations that support families, and just a lot of things. There's traditions. He is very much talked about in our family.
Mm-hmm.
The other kiddos know who he is. His picture is up on our wall, and we celebrate him as much as possible. And I think it's such a unique thing that the rest of the kids are growing up understanding a component of death.
Right.
Because it is a natural thing, right?
Yes.
We go to the cemetery, they know exactly where his headstone is. They know exactly where to go.
Mm-hmm.
More people than you know or you think have navigated a miscarriage, have navigated child loss. And so just keeping that in mind when we never know what people go through.
No, it's so true. And some people are open to talk about it, and some people keep things to themselves.
Oh my gosh. Publicly, privately, it is 100% like your courage and your strength is not defined by how many people know your story.
Absolutely. It's so true.
Right.
So, and it might not be the time, might not be now, right?
Nope.
Because they might not need to know your story now, but then maybe down the road, if you want to open up and share it, great. But if that's just something people keep to themselves, and that's, good too.
And I also think, I think a lot of things, but I don't remember now. There's a lot.
My next question was gonna be, how do you guys just talk about Hudson at home and stuff? Because I think it's so good for the kids to, even our kids, we've been to the 5K, we talked about Hudson, and they asked the questions, and but his memory still lives on, and kids don't forget that. It's like and those guys need to know that they have another brother.
Yeah.
You
So Cooper most recently, just a couple weeks ago, and it was like tug at your heartstrings moment, and I was reading the book and putting into, and he's big on, where do we live? And I say the city. Where does Grandma live? And I say where she lives. And where does Hudson live? I said, well, Hudson's in heaven. Is Hudson real? I said, oh, buddy, he is very real.
Yeah.
I just wish he lived here. Oh, what did he say? But Hudson died. And I said, yes, buddy. Hudson died.
Mm-hmm.
Were you sad when he died?
Oh my God.
Yes, I was. Well, why were you sad? Because I really wanted him to stay. I wanted him to stay too. I'm like,
that's so
and I'm like,
sweet.
I need to go to the bathroom. And
it's because you got to bring it down to, because it's just so complex,
Yes,
and so to some extent you have to bring it to their level of understanding, but just also not saying, oh, let's talk about it later, or ignoring those things. I think in a good parenting moment, it's just education the best way we can, and also try not to break down and you wish just as much as he does, that he was here. And
so every year during Christmas, we do we hang a stocking, and we invite friends and family to send a Christmas card, and we put it in Hudson's stocking. And on Christmas Day, we go up to the cemetery and we read him all of his cards. And on his birthday, we take a cake up there, and Easter, we do an Easter egg hunt up there, and just try to find ways to incorporate him into our family traditions. And that just is what makes us a little unique. And I think that you have the ability to take some of life's most unimaginable moments and use them as a catalyst for something else, right? And so that's how it shapes you.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the last question would be, how can friends and family best support someone who's kind of walking through this?
A lot of it, I think, so often people with good intentions say, how can I help you? And I think in that moment, it's not about asking the questions, it's just doing. Drop off a meal, come pick up if there's other kiddos and give them space to heal. It's and it's like putting a reminder in your calendar a month after the funeral, because in the immediacy there's so much support, there's so much family, there's so much time. But then a month goes by
and it's like everything's gone. Like it's a weird, probably
and
a
so
weird.
I think it's just about those little reminders. It's every year on Hudson's birthday when somebody texts me happy birthday to Hudson, or when people are in the airport and they see like the Hudson convenient thing and they're like, oh, they snap a picture and send it to me, or you know, when you have those thoughts or thinking of you today, or you know, especially in that first year, you know, it comes to the holidays and navigating a holiday in that, and grief. It's grief and joy, they can coexist, and you know, it's just always the and. We just live in this and so I would say just do. Drop off a meal without expectations, right? Don't knock on the door if you don't want to. You can just drop, send a text message as you're leaving, and just do.
Because people won't. If you ask them what they need, they're never going to tell you. Because at those moments, they probably don't know.
Oh my gosh!
Like I need a lot of things right now, but I don't even know where to start. But that's such a good point on just asking if you can pick their kids up if they have other kids. Can I just take them you can just grieve? Because I don't know, I can't speak on this, but even me breaking down in front of my kids, I don't love it. Not that I don't think it shows a sign of weakness or anything, but it's just sometimes I don't want them to ask the questions and all those things. So if you have kids at home when you're trying to navigate this, and they're like, "Mommy, what's wrong? What's wrong?" and you just can't really process it. It's like if they're sometimes they're best not there.
Right.
So then
there's like a local organization. I don't know who told me about it, but like they will come and pick up your laundry and do all your laundry and drop it back off. Like just the things, like, because again, life still happens tomorrow. Things still happen. And so it's like this tragedy and the most unimaginable thing has happened, but I still somehow have to function tomorrow. And so giving people space to not have to function, to just walk, to be in silent, to just sit. I think all of those are important. And then just the random, hey, thinking of you today, you know, on his birthday, you know, saying their name, you know, and even if it's, you know, did you have a name picked out? I'd love to hear it.
Right.
You know?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's a baby. It's their child.
The moment you see that positive on a pregnancy stick, I mean, you write the entire story.
Kicks in. Yes,
you think about that little kiddo and a name and all of the thoughts and the feelings, and then it's just done. It's like, huh.
Yeah. It's a big life change.
What am I going to do with all these thoughts and feelings?
And then it's almost like, okay, but we still want another baby. But it's like, can I go through this again and again?
So
and because, you know, some people go through it so often, and it's just like knocking you down again.
When we got pregnant and went back to the drawing board and got pregnant with Cooper, let me tell you about all of the anxiety from every single. And it's like you keep thinking, okay, if I can just get to the ultrasound, if I can just get to the heartbeat, if I can just get to viability week, if I can just get to, but each door or milestone that you walk through, it's like, okay, but now I have to get to the next one. Right. Now I have to get to the next one. And the week leading up to Cooper being born, I might have said Hudson, or I don't know. Kids, they're all the same name. The week leading up to delivering Cooper, I had so much anxiety. Like, you could not get him into my arms fast enough. Like, we were at the finish line.
Looking him over, making sure
all of the things. And so we had amazing supports, but my OB, she is absolutely amazing. Dr. Amy, she delivered all of our kiddos. And we're in a book club now because we're friends.
Love it.
I loved it.
You have time for a book club. Sounds like you got some time.
No, none. I know. I feel bad I haven't been to the last couple. But she's phenomenal. And she understood my anxiety, right?
Oh, yeah.
She delivered Addi. She was with us during Hudson.
Yes.
She was with us during, and in practices, they would be like, oh, you see a variety. I'm like, no, I don't. I see Dr. Amy, and that is it. Thanks. She would let me come in and do random heart rate checks, right? She's like, if you need it, just come in and we'll listen. Right. And so I'd randomly text Lisa, like, everything's good, heartbeat's this. And she's like, I didn't know you had an appointment. I'm like,
Me either.
I didn't. but everything's
just
good.
driving by.
And I tried not to take advantage of it, but there was a handful of times
and
that
that's
I did.
okay.
But, you know, and so the simplicity of pregnancy is something we never got to feel. There's something naive about not having to experience the hard that makes it challenging. But
I know, and I just hearing your story about IVF and all that, like that's a whole nother thing.
I think we had a total of 5 miscarriages, 9 IUI attempts, you know, 1 round of IVF, 1 egg retrieval, 4 embryos.
And again, it's something a lot of people go through nowadays.
With Down syndrome, a child who died, 2 living children, thankfully.
Yeah.
You know.
I know, and a testament to just your positivity in life, because this could make you a very negative person, right? And again, people handle things different, but you guys are just, you know, so
I'm
great.
never going to lose my spark for life. Like, that's, I mean, I've been through worse, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
Well,
this
if there's,
episode
if anybody's listening that has experienced, I'd love to know who you celebrate in your angel's name, if that's something you're willing to share, if there's questions or comments or thoughts, and maybe share this with somebody you know that experienced loss in any capacity.
Awesome. Thank you guys.